Did you ever hear Donald Trump, your uncle, use the N-word?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I know that sounds awful to put it that way, but when you live in a family, and you're a kid, it's not that I didn't know it was wrong. I did, because I lived a very different kind of experience growing up. I lived in Jamaica, Queens, which was, lower class, working class, and predominantly African American. I went to a school that was predominantly Jewish. So I didn't understand the animus, but it wasn't shocking because it's just the way it was. This is how adults in my orbit spoke and behaved. And now, of course, I learned a long time ago that it wasn't just something I disagreed with, but it was deeply wrong. But I guess I say it the way I say it is just to underscore how casual and accepted it was. As far as my grandfather, he was basically the only person in the family whose opinion mattered. He had all of the power. It was a very patriarchal system I grew up in. There was a lot of misogyny, so being a girl in that family was an automatic strike against you. And my grandfather was the kind of man who believed in dynasty in a way. I mean, he wouldn't have put it in those terms, but, he had his real estate empire, and his oldest son and namesake, my father, was going to be his successor, and his empire was going to last in perpetuity. Unfortunately, for my father's sake, he wasn't the right kind of person in my grandfather's eyes. My grandfather needed somebody who was a killer, who was a tough guy, somebody who would win at all costs and was not weak in any way. In my family, being kind was considered being weak. Admitting your mistakes and apologizing for them was equated with weakness as well. So I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point, certainly I would imagine by the time my dad was in college, my grandfather already knew that he was probably not going to cut it as his heir apparent. So Donald, who was 7.5 years younger, learned from my grandfather's psychological and emotional abuse of my dad. And the message was essentially, don't be like Freddie. And since my grandfather ran my family as a zero-sum game, and there could only be one winner and everybody else was a loser, Donald was determined to win. And he, in my grandfather's eyes at least, did, and, successfully auditioned as my dad's replacement.